What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. Decided to start the show a little bit early tonight. I do have to get out of here probably in about a half an hour or so. But here we are, week two. We're entering week two here. This is the Waiver Wire live show. If you guys do have waiver wire questions, please fire them away in the chat room. We're going to get to as many and all of them that we can. I do think this is a really good week to spend some waiver wire claims, some waiver wire budget, whatever you guys need. And then I do want to shout out, if you guys are not in the Discord yet and you're watching this video, definitely go ahead and join the Discord. That's where I'm going to be answering most of the questions throughout the rest of the season. But for now, I did post my waiver wire column for week two here. It's looking pretty good at running back, at wide receiver. There's a ton of guys here that I think make a lot of sense for the season and could help us start like right away. So I'm pretty excited about that. On the waiver wire, I did post it in the comments. So we're looking at the week two, the start sit charts here. I guess this is the spread chart here. So this does identify which teams are going to probably have better games. Teams down here are probably not going to have as great a games. I did post all the injury information as well. But let's say what up to Harris. Good evening. Good evening to Daniel as well. Hope you guys are doing well. And Clash with Joey says, how much fob for Josh Kelly? So with Josh Kelly, he looked really good. I do have him as a moderate buy. I do think he's more of a stash play. I do not know what's going on with Austin Eckler. It looked like some of the Twitter doctors are saying it's a high ankle potential sprain here. I'm expecting him not to practice tomorrow, which will look like Josh Kelly's going to get more and more work. And Kelly came out and he played really, really well. Unfortunately, he's not available in my league that I'm in here right now. But he comes out 16 carries, 91 yards, and a touchdown. And he didn't even get any receiving work here. So like, even if like you remove the touchdown, that's still 91 yards that he put up on the ground with 16 touches. So it is going to be a tough matchup against Tennessee. If you're looking to spot start him this week, monitor expectations. He's a running back too. But I think in terms of, free agent auction bidding, it really depends on how aggressive you want to be. I would think most people's waiver wires are going to have, maybe Roshan, Kenneth Gainwell, Spears, Josh Kelly, Chuba, Kieran Williams is probably going to go for a lot of money here. So I don't know if Josh Kelly is going to be the most expensive running back on the waiver wire. You probably got to pay upwards of $10, I think, 10 to 15% of your free agent auction bidding. I think if I have Austin Eckler, I'm willing to pay a little bit more aggressively than someone who doesn't have Austin Eckler. And if you don't have Austin Eckler too, you should still put a bid on Josh Kelly. So it's probably, again, it's tough to recommend the right amount. Like, you have to know your league. Like, are you in a league where people are pretty up on their stuff? Do they even know Austin Eckler's got an ankle injury? So for me, it's probably in that $10 to $15 range that I would feel comfortable spending. And I do think he's a running back too if Eckler misses time. Romeo Doubs or Nico Collins. So the usage looked really good for Nico Collins. Last week, week one, he comes out and runs 39 routes on 54 dropbacks. He gets 11 targets. That was the team lead for Nico Collins. So this looks really good. I think he is the number one receiver there. Now with Romeo Doubs, we're waiting for Christian Watson to see if he's going to play this week. I think his practice report tomorrow will be pretty interesting to see if he does get a limited practice in. I think long-term, Nico Collins shapes up to continue to be the wide receiver one for Green Bay. But with Romeo Doubs, if Christian Watson comes back, that's going to put a damper on some of the things. But it looked really good for Reed. He ran a route on 20 of Jordan Love's 30 dropbacks. Only 5 targets, though. So I'm leaning Nico Collins is probably the stronger play here. I know my bad. Romeo Doubs did run 20 routes, same thing as Jaden Reed. So I'm leaning towards Nico being the better play. I know Romeo caught 2 touchdowns, but touchdowns will come for Nico. Good evening to Chase. Hope you're doing well. Does ESPN Fantasy have the free agent auction bidding? Yes, sir. For ESPN does. And that's all of my leagues that I play on. So I have 4 leagues on ESPN. I have 1 on Yahoo. All of them on ESPN have the free agent auction bidding, so I will be bidding on a lot of these guys here. Unfortunately, in this league, one of the guys already has Josh Kelly, so I cannot bid on him. But yeah, ESPN does allow the free agent auction bidding system. In terms of the best players available in my leagues right now, it's looking like Zach Moss and Chuba Hubbard, Justice Hill, the Baltimore Ravens backs. How much FOB would you be willing to spend on Nakua? Nakua is my number one. If you play in a PPR league, I think Nakua is the guy you want to get this week. Again, you kind of got to know how aggressive your league is going to be. But the way that I kind of like to spend my dollars is I think Nakua is for sure a wide receiver 3 starting receiver. Like on your roster, he can be a wide receiver 3 flex play for at least the next 3 weeks, assuming everything looks good and he continues getting enough targets to be what he needs to be. I think he's a starter for the next 3 games while Cooper Kupp is out. And even when Cooper Kupp returns, I think Nakua is still the second best receiving option on that team. So Nakua does have wide receiver 3 flex value for the rest of the season. So with that being said, you're probably gonna have to spend a minimum $15. I think to get him upwards of. Again, it really depends on, is your league savvy enough? Do they spend big money on players? I mean, I played in Superflex leagues, and last year I think Geno Smith went for like $37 that one week where everyone was bidding on him. So I probably wouldn't go more than 30s, but if you feel like you have to, you kind of know what the gut number is, in the bottom back of your mind. I think you got to go with that, but probably around $25. That's probably where I would go with. Sky Moore to me is a hold. I want to hold on to Sky Moore unless if I can swap out Sky Moore and I can get Puka, if I can get maybe Kendrick Bourne, I would definitely take Nico Collins over Sky Moore. I would need more information on who you're dropping Sky Moore for there, Harris. I love Jaden Reed. I like Jaden Reed a lot too. I thought Jaden Reed came in. I mean, he played just as much as Romeo Dobbs, so I know he was nursing the hamstring thing, but I think Jaden Reed came out and looked really good as a rookie. He had 2 really nice big catches. They also gave him a catch. He had 2 big third down plays, and he does return. He does punt returns too. So he is a vital piece, and he could be a guy that continues to grow as the season grows. Top 5 players we must waive. Does that mean drop or add? Top 5 players for me. I mean, I have Roshan Johnson. I think is going to be the feature back at some point for Chicago Bears. I think Kenneth Gainwell is the guy you want in Philly. I do have Kieran Williams highlighted here just because I think he's going to be the guy that ends up being the most value for the Rams backs. Like those are my 3 favorite running backs. But I do like Chuba. I like Josh Kelly. I just don't know about their staying power for the rest of the season. Other than those running backs, I mean, I think Puka Nakua is a guy that could have value for the whole season. If you can't get Puka, like Zay Jones was on the field a lot more than Christian Kirk. And I'm willing to think that Zay Jones might be a better fantasy player than Christian Kirk this year. It sounds weird to say, but the usage, I mean, Zay Jones was on the field the most for snaps for the Jags, more routes than Christian Kirk and more targets than Christian Kirk. So keep an eye on Zay Jones. I think he's worth an add as well. Other receivers, I mean, again, Nico Collins should be picked up if he's not already. But then the Pittsburgh Steelers receivers, like if you want to pick up a guy for Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson and Calvin Austin are both going to see a lot of time. Now, I like Calvin Austin quite a bit. I think he's going to lead the team in receptions. At tight end, if you guys can grab one of these rookie tight ends, Laporta or Musgrave, I think they're both great pickups. And then Hunter Henry would be there. So maybe that's not the top 5, but that's a bunch of names for you there, Daniel. Romeo Dobbs or Marquise Brown or Tyler Algier non-PPR. I think in a non-PPR setting, it's Tyler Algier. I do not trust Marquise Brown and the Cardinals, so I would rank them Algier, Dobbs, Marquise Brown. Top 5 players in a 0.5 PPR. To be honest, 0.5 PPR to half PPR doesn't really change that much. I think when you get to the standard league where there's no point per reception, that's where it changes a little bit. But in a half PPR, I'm going to lean more towards the running backs. Thoughts on you facing my Tyreek Hill this week? It's whatever, man. We'll get back on it. Tyreek Hill, that's the thing about Tyreek Hill. He has the ability to completely win a matchup for you guys and pump off 40 points. You like Nakua against 49ers for flex this week. I honestly don't think, like, the 49ers, man, like, they're a great defense. They have a great pass rush. We know this. And I know it's early, but when I went and did my fantasy points allowed, like the 49ers are going to allow wide receiver points. In terms of fantasy points allowed, they did, they have a red matchup against quarterbacks, a red against running backs, but they do allow teams to throw the ball because they're probably playing from behind. So I don't hate the matchup for Puka Nakua. Last week, the 49ers let up 19 receptions, 185 receptions to the wide receivers there in Pittsburgh. So maybe Nakua comes out and gets another 7 or 8 catches, 70, 80 yards, something like that. So in a full PPR, I'm still in on Nakua. I think he might be matchup proof. Randy, thanks for hanging out, man. I think Josh Kelly is the most important ad. Not sure if you covered him yet. It's possible that Chargers placed either Eckler and Iowa. We got to see. So I think tomorrow's an important day. I don't expect Eckler to practice. But Eckler is one of those guys that can practice or not have to practice, and he could play. It being so early in the season, maybe he's active and doesn't play very much. So I think right now, Josh Kelly, I should probably have him bolded with an extra star on here. I do think he's probably the next best pickup right now. And especially if you have Austin Eckler, you probably got to be aggressive on the waiver wire and make sure you get Josh Kelly. One, it protects you. And I also think if Eckler were to play, Kelly could be like an RB2 or, flex value at this point. But yeah, if Eckler doesn't play, Kelly's looking at 15 to 20 touches. They don't really have a nice player behind Josh Kelly. So I think Kelly is probably a priority in pretty much all formats here. And I do think there's levels to it. Like if you're good, if you need a running back too, like grab Josh Kelly. If you say you have 3 really good running backs and you just want to get a guy to stash, like then I'm looking at Roschon Johnson, so that kind of changes things a little bit. It's okay to drop Sky Moore. I mean, I'm probably dropping Sky Moore for guys like Nico, maybe even Elijah Moore. Definitely for Zay Jones. I'd rather have Romeo Doubs than Sky Moore. Maybe even Jaden Reed over Sky Moore. I think Tutu and Puka are interesting. So there is levels to dropping Sky Moore. I guess I should grab him again. I mean, if you can get him for free, I wouldn't mind holding it out for him. Good evening to Justin here. Should I add London non-PPR? Yeah, Drake London shouldn't be on waivers. I know people are overreacting to a bad week 1, but Drake London was a 5th round pick, whatever, for a reason. He should be owned in all formats here. I'm not going to let 1 week scare me off. Like, we shouldn't be cutting T. Higgins because he had a goose egg. We shouldn't be cutting Dallas Goedert because he had a 0. In my 16-man, should I drop Samir for Calvin Austin due to the Johnson? So it's a little bit different dropping a running back for a wide receiver. I'm assuming you have more depth at the running back position, so you should be fine. But yeah, Calvin Austin's going to get a lot of work this week, guys. He's one of those guys that I'm looking, because I think a lot of people are probably looking at Allen Robinson potentially. Let me see if I can find the Steelers here. I'm sorry, I'm just looking for the snap counts here for the Steelers. Because Calvin Austin, he caught all 6 of his targets. He was the next man up when Deontay left the game. So Allen Robinson was already on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. But now that Deontay's gone, like Calvin Austin, man, he played roughly a half of football and he got 6 targets. So he's the sleeper, I think, of the waiver wire class this week. In a full PPR setting, I like Calvin Austin. Nico or Elijah Moore, full PPR? I'm going to go with Nico. And especially rest of season. I thought Elijah Moore looked good, but Nico's got the wide receiver 1 usage that you're looking for, so I'm going to lean slightly Nico here. I don't agree with that, but to me, I think it's Nico. I do like Elijah Moore, but Nico comes out and gets 11 targets. I don't think Elijah Moore is going to be able to get there, so I'm just doing the order of elimination here and going with the wide receiver 1. Packer offense is fun. Allen Robinson got value now. He does. I think he's like on like the Zay Jones axis, a guy that you can maybe put in there as your wide receiver 3 flex. I do expect the Steelers to bounce back this week potentially and have a little bit better day on offense. It sucks losing Deontay Johnson, but we know Allen Robinson's going to be on the field a lot, and he's actually kind of their slot receiver. So he might continue to lead the team in targets. We don't know. He did lead them, on Sunday here with 8 targets. Algier or Traylon Burks non-PPR. Because it's non-PPR, I'm going to side with the running back, and we see a goal line role for Algier, so touchdowns are king in that format. I'm going to go with the touches and Tyler Algier. How do you feel about James Cook over Rachaad White for week 2? I think it's a no-brainer. James White, I thought, looked good. Jets defense is really good, and guess what? James Cook still got 10 PPR points, so I'm feeling good about that. I like Rachaad White maybe against the Bears, but I'd rather put my eggs in the Buffalo Bills offense, so I'm going to go with James Cook over Rachaad White. Do you like Juwan Johnson this week? I think Juwan is fine. Let me control F here. Let's see. Juwan Johnson, 50 snaps, so that's good. He's on the field as much as Olave or Michael Thomas. 32 routes run, so he's running a lot of routes. Only 5 targets in that game, but I do think it's a decent spot to get Juwan in the lineup. So it depends on who you're starting him over, but I'm definitely interested in Juwan Johnson. I think Judy's back this week, but I'm not going to start him. I want to see what it looks like. I don't really trust the Broncos offense as a whole, and he might be on a pitch count. I think Judy's back, but I'm not willing to put him in my lineup just yet. Algier or Gainwell and drop Sharp or Warren. I I think it's Gainwell because he is like Gainwell was the clear number one back for the Eagles, and I know Kenneth Gainwell is hurt right now. He didn't practice today. He might not play on Thursday Night Football. But if this is what the Eagles want to do, they came out and gave him 14 carries and 4 targets, and we know this is a really good offense. So I'm going to say I'd rather have Gainwell over Algier. And if I'm dropping someone, it's probably Charbonnet. I'm going to hold on to Warren. Would you start Kelly or Justice Hill over Brees? Kelly plays Titans. Hill plays Cincy. I think at this point, Randy, like I was recommending that we wait for Brees and see what it looks like week 1. It looks really freaking good. Like, put Brees in your lineup. I would rank them as Brees, Kelly, Justice Hill. We could talk about, if you guys want, I could talk about the Ravens, what I think about that backfield. I actually think it's kind of fool's gold. I'm not rushing to go out and add Justice Hill and Gus Edwards. I think that's going to be kind of a messy situation all year. London or Sky Moore, I'll take Drake London. Bob Woods is an ad, Justin. I actually, like, the Texans are not a great offense, but they're going to be losing games. We know that, right? But Woods and Collins both come out and they run a lot of routes. They both got a lot of targets, and Robert Woods is that nice underneath target for CJ Stroud here. So I don't expect 10 targets every week, but Woods went, 5 for 59 or something like that with his yards. He's a decent guy that you could pull up off the waiver wire and put him in your bench or your flex and see what happens. So I do like stashing Bob Woods. I have Eckler. Should I pick up Kelly over Roshan, Kieran, Gainwell, and Nakua, number 4 priority? That's a tough one, Daniel. I think for you, it makes sense to protect your Eckler. If Eckler's out this week, we're going to feel stupid for not getting Josh Kelly. So, one, go ahead and get the insurance. You have number 4 priority. I think what I would do is I would make Josh Kelly my number 4 priority, but then make sure you have those other priorities in there. Because if you don't get Josh Kelly, make sure you still get Gainwell, Roshan, or Kieran Williams, or Nakua. I mean, honestly, you're going to get one of these 5 guys here. So if I had to rank them, I probably would put Kelly number 1 because you have Eckler. And then I would probably go Nakua. I'll go Gainwell. I'll go Roshan, and then Kieran Williams. What is the best play for this week? Kincaid, Musgrave, Henry, or Laporta? Honestly, like, those are going to be all, like, that's like the list of most popular streamers this week. I think the matchups are going to dictate. Let's see who led up tight end points last week. The matchups for tight ends, you got Kincaid. Buffalo Bills are playing the Raiders. Raiders went and allowed 7 for 56 to the Broncos tight ends last week. Musgrave is getting the Falcons, and that was 6 for 43 and a touchdown. Hayden Hurst did pretty good last week, so it might be Musgrave right now in the lead. Hunter Henry, the Dolphins let up 5 for 42 and a touchdown last week to the Chargers. And then Laporta, a pretty nice matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. So honestly, like, these are all good matchups. Musgrave, Laporta, and Hunter Henry. I think I'm going to go with Luke Musgrave. I think he stays on the field. If Christian Watson plays, we could pivot and you can go ahead and play. You can play Laporta. I'm going to rank them Musgrave, Laporta, Kincaid, Henry. Zach Moss will lead Colts running game. I think so. I mean, they're projecting him to be the guy this week with 9.3 points. I don't think it's a great matchup already. Let me see. I mean, the Colts are playing the Texans. The Texans did allow 3 rushing touchdowns last weekend to the Ravens. It could be a nice matchup for Zach Moss. I don't think I want to start Zach Moss, but I do think he should be picked up. Mike Will should break out this week. We saw the Saints cook him. Yeah, Mike Williams is probably going to be like the Titans. Titans are one of the worst teams. They've been one of the worst teams against wide receivers and quarterbacks the last couple of years. They let up a lot of yards, a touchdown last week. Mike Williams is a must start. Yeah, the rookie tight ends, man, this year, it looks really fun. Broncos looked okay. I think we're going to see Javonte Williams start to take over. I still don't love the passing game, but hopefully they can continue running the ball well. I do think Gainwell's probably the guy I want on my teams for the remainder of the season just because the usage last week looked so good. But he's currently questionable for Thursday Night Football. There's a chance that he does not play. He missed practice today, so just be wary of that. But this usage was pretty good. Like, Swift and Boston Scott were nothing. Yeah, go ahead. Can you show the Steelers' outlook for Warren? Yeah, let's take a look at that. Well, let's look at the usage here. There's the Steelers. Steelers. Okay, so last week in a blowout, you see Najee Harris, 33 snaps, 25 to Warren, 24 routes run for Najee, 19 for Jalen Warren, 6 targets for Warren, 2 for Harris, 6 carries for Najee, 3 for Jalen Warren. So it's not quite a 50-50 split, but it's almost like a 60-40 split. And I did think Warren was going to be the third down back coming into the season. This is kind of what it's showing here. So it is looking like Warren could be a viable running back 2 flex if you need him in a desperation spot. The matchup is not great. Cleveland Browns do have a good defense. They did allow 75 rushing yards last week and 4 for 16 to the Bengals backs here. So it's not a great matchup, but I could easily see Warren, making some plays on Monday Night Football. 49ers D versus Rams, Browns versus Steelers. I'm going with the 49ers. We know that's an elite defense. I like the Browns, but I think you got to take advantage of the 49ers right now because they're hot. Add and play over. Who are we talking about here? Harris. I don't know who we're talking about here. Zay Jones or Elijah Moore non-PPR. I'm going to go Zay Jones. It's a better passing offense in Jacksonville, and I believe Zay Jones to be the wide receiver 2 in Jacksonville right now. Should I pick up Mostert non-PPR? I think so. Mostert and non-PPR deserves to be on the bench. If he's available, go pick him up. That's a tough question because I need to know, do you have running back depth? I mean, I'd prefer to hold on to both. I don't think both. I don't think any of these guys are drops this week. I'm not going to overreact and drop Gibson after one bad game. I do think it was a tough matchup for Treylon Burks in the Titans, so I would like to not drop these guys. If I can hold them, I'm going to hold them. If I had to drop one of them, again, it depends on your depth at running back or receiver. Which one are you deeper at? The usage right now is in the preseason told us this too, which is why I was kind of pulling away from Christian Kirk. I have Christian Kirk on none of my teams. Zay Jones ran 8 more routes. He was on the field for 18 more snaps, and he had 4 more targets. To me, this looks very clear. Zay Jones is the wide receiver 2 in Jacksonville. You can maybe buy low on Christian Kirk, but he's gonna have more spike weeks. I actually think Zay Jones might be more consistent as a wide receiver 3 in our lineups. Marquise Brown or Algier non-PPR. It's Algier all day. Tyler Algier, Juwan Johnson. Oh, okay. Anyone on the waiver you would add over Juwan Johnson? So tight ends, I would probably rather have over Juwan Johnson right now. I'd rather have the rookies. I'll take Laporta. I'll take Musgrave. I think Jake Ferguson. Dallas was a weird game, but he did lead the team with 7 targets. I'd rather have Hunter Henry, I think, over Juwan Johnson, but that's probably the end of the list. Maybe Hayden Hurst. Start 1 PPR. Pierce, Lockett, Ayuk, Demont. This week, it's between David Montgomery and Brandon Ayuk. This week, the matchup for David Montgomery, boys, is it's pretty prime. I'm super excited about it. They're playing the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks didn't allow a ton of stuff last week, but it does look pretty good here. Actually, the Seattle Seahawks did allow the 3 rushing touchdowns last week to the Rams. So I'm all in on David Montgomery this week. If I had to rank them, it's Monty, Ayuk, Pierce, Lockett. In a dynasty league, it depends on how many pickups you have for the rest of the year. But I think Gainwell has some, he could be the guy there for a while, probably upwards of $20, $25, 20-25% of my free agent money. I don't think it's time to panic with Christian Kirk because in games where the Jags are picked to either lose or be trailing, I think you want Christian Kirk in there because that means they're throwing the ball. In this game, they gave ETN 18 carries and Bigsby 7, and Ernest Johnson got 1. So that's 26 rushing attempts in this game here. In games where they're winning, they're going to run the ball more. That makes me, only like Calvin Ridley. But in games like this week where they're playing the Chiefs, it might look really nice for Zay Jones. It might look really nice for Christian Kirk because they're going to have to throw to keep up. So I'm not going to panic on Christian Kirk just yet. I want one more data week here to see if he is the clear number 3. But I do expect him to be of use this week against the Chiefs. Roschon and Kieran Williams outplay Herbert and Akers. I believe so. If I had to choose, I'd rather have Roschon and Kieran Williams over Herbert and Akers long term. Drop DJ for Richardson. Hell yeah, Ryan. Do it now. Go get Anthony Richardson. Do you feel comfortable starting both Goddard and AJB Thursday? Don't really have any other options. I'm not going to worry about Dallas Goedert. He did get one target. He was open a ton. Hurts just missed him. I think Goddard's going to come back and have a really nice day on Monday Night Football. And because it's tight end, like, dude, like nobody played well at the tight end spot last week. I think there was only like 4 tight ends that went over double digits. Dallas Goedert's one of those guys every week. Yeah, last week only 7 tight ends went over 10. Oh, my bad. That's projections. Fantasy points here. Only 4 tight ends went over double digits last week. Dallas Goedert can do that. I'm not panicking on Goddard. Go ahead and start Goddard and AJB. Would you drop Curtis Samuel? In deeper PPR leagues, I like to hold on to Curtis Samuel, but I'm never going to feel good starting him. So if you have to do it, like I'd rather have Puka Nacua, Zay Jones over Curtis. I do have to get out of here in a few minutes, guys. So make sure you guys get your questions in. We'll hang out for another 3 or 4 minutes here. Would you do this trade? I send Cooks, MBS, Charbonnet, and get Dylan Elijah Moore in my 16-man. Probably not. In a 16-man, I want the depth. Dylan's just not good. Elijah Moore versus Cooks. I think I'd rather have Brandon Cooks. Drop Gibson or Traylon Burks for Algier. In that instance, Harris, that's better context. That helps me make the decision more for you because I'm just going to swap out Gibson and I'm going to grab Algier. So running back for running back, I think that makes sense. I don't know if we have quite the time, Randy. If you do, like, I have to get out of here in a couple minutes. If you do want to get into more in depth here, definitely join our Discord. That's where I can give you guys a little bit more time and answer questions in more depth. I'm going to drop the link here in the comments for you guys here. So if you guys want to join our Discord and get some questions answered, there should be a channel for you guys to get what you need there. Anyone rank above Zay Jones for receiver full PPR? Puka. Puka's the dude. I mean, if there's any chance Zay Flowers, Jacoby Myers are available in your leagues, like those guys would be a priority. Maybe I think Nico Collins maybe is in the same tier as Zay Jones, but I think Zay Jones is the guy long term. And to be honest, I actually think Puka Nacua, even when Kupp returns, I think Puka Nacua can be a fantasy starter. I mean, think about that offense the last few years with a healthy Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. There's room for plenty of guys to eat in that offense. And Puka right now is showing really good chemistry with Stafford. So I love Puka. That sounds great. That's perfect. Yeah, Rondale Moore, sayonara, buddy. Is Van Jefferson a drop? Yes, I'd rather have all the guys we've been talking about. Puka. I'd rather have Calvin Austin or Rashid Shaheed or Allen Robinson. I'd rather have Jaden Reed. I'd rather have Romeo, Zay Jones. Half PPR flex, Monty, Flowers, or Pittman. Because it's half PPR, I'm going with Montgomery. Montgomery, you want to lock in those 18 to 20 touches. We just saw the Seahawks give up 3 rushing touchdowns last weekend to the Ravens. I want David Montgomery in my lineup this weekend. For Waddle, I mean, if you can get Jalen Waddle, I think that's fine. I think at some point we're going to see Jahmyr Gibbs get more on the field. So I still love Montgomery short term here, but if you can flip him for Waddle, I think that'd be a no-brainer, Daniel. Charbonnet in the RB2. It's not happening until it happens, my friend. It didn't look good for Charbonnet or the Seahawks. I'm willing to just throw this game away for the Seahawks in general. It was just not a good game. But the fact that DJ Dallas is getting just as much work, I think it's going to be a little bit patience needed for Charbonnet. How much would you pay for Luke Musgrave? Maybe $8, something like that. If I had to $8 to $10. If I needed a starting tight end, I'm willing to be a little bit more aggressive, but you can maybe get him for as cheap as $5 or $8. There's the Discord link there, guys. And yeah, just send whatever you need in there, Randy. I can look into it. Drop Curtis Samuel or Michael Gallup. I'd rather drop Gallup. Keep Curtis Samuel. Samuel played well. Zay over Gainwell. If you need a wide receiver, I'm fine with it. If Zay Jones is your 5th or 6th receiver versus like Gainwell being your 3rd or 4th running back, I'm going to side with Gainwell. So it's more of a depth thing. If you need running back depth, I'm going to go with I'm always going to go running backs. And because it's half PPR, I might side with Gainwell here, Daniel. I'm having a hard time deciding with Algier Gainwell with number 4 waiver full PPR. It's Gainwell for me, Chase. I think we're going to see more Bijan as the season goes on. And the Falcons, gave Algier a lot of fourth quarter run. They're not going to be winning a lot of games and controlling the line of scrimmage like that. So I'm leaning Gainwell, but it's honestly, they're both good picks. No problem, Randy. And I do have to get going here, guys. So if you guys do have any more final questions, I could probably try and get to some in the Discord if you need it. How much would you pay for Zay Jones? Zay Jones is a fringe wide receiver 3 flex play, maybe $5, $6, $7, something like that. And if you do have Lawrence, I think that's fine. Go ahead with Zay if you need the wide receiver depth here. Kendrick Bourne over Zay Jones. I think when Devontae Parker comes back, that could complement or complicate things here. I'd rather, when it comes down to me, is Jacksonville versus the Patriots. I think I'm going to trust the Patriots a little bit more here. How much you pay for a defense? I mean, if it's the defense of the week, $4 or $5. Broncos and the Giants are the guys that I'm looking at here. There's some other good ones here available. If you got like Tampa Bay versus the Bears, maybe even the Colts versus the Texans. I think there's some decent ones in here, but I do unfortunately have to get rolling here, guys. If you guys do have questions, you guys can always fill them in the Discord. I will try and get to them as soon as I can, but that's it for me tonight, guys. Good luck with your waiver claims. Hopefully you guys get everybody you need, and tomorrow night we will be going live. Wednesday night is my live show start sit program. We're going to be doing all the start sit questions that you guys need. And you guys take it easy. Have a good rest of your night. I meant Kendrick Bourne over Zay Jones for waivers. I'm going to go with Zay Jones. I want the number 2 receiver in Jacksonville, not the potential number 1 or 2 or whatever he is in New England. So I'm still leaning offense with Jacksonville here. But thank you guys for your time. Enjoy your night. Get those claims in. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.